core of the old world was once again silent. The maelstrom of the chi nova I had unleashed had subsided, leaving a profound, unsettling stillness in its wake. My temporal sanctuary held its shimmering walls a testament to my defiant will, but the victory was a hollow one. I was physically and mentally shattered, my consciousness screaming with the strain of the final burst. But the fatigue was nothing compared to the cold dread that settled in my gut, a heavy, paralyzing weight of understanding. I had won the silent duel, but in my desperation I had revealed my deeper secret. I had left an unerasable mark on the planar world, an echo of my very essence. I sat in the mobile sanctuary, the hum of the temporal engine the only sound in the suffocating silence. On my main console, the display of the chi weave was a constant, stark reminder of my mistake. The temporal echo, a shimmering, constantly expanding distortion, radiated outward from the core. It was a perfect, crystalline representation of my chi signature, a beacon of pure, concentrated dissonance that now existed outside of my sanctuary. It was me, a ghost of a moment in time, permanently imprinted on a universe that had sought to erase me. I had created a sanctuary outside of time, but my actions had now tethered me to a single, irrevocable moment within it. I was a prisoner of my own victory. I watched on my consoles as Alyssin's strategies shifted. The harmonizing beacon was still active, a relentless pressure on the core. But her probes were gone. She was no longer trying to breach my sanctuary. Her focus was now on the temporal echo, the shimmering mark I had left on the chi weave. She was not attacking me. She was meticulously studying the echo, running a million simulations against its unique signature, learning everything about the creator from the residue of the creation. The focus had shifted from unraveling the sanctuary to unraveling the creator. The hunt was no longer for my location, but for my very essence. It was a terrifying intellectual pursuit, a ghost hunt for my soul. The silence was a profound and terrifying thing. For what felt like an eternity, nothing happened. Then, I felt it. A subtle, almost imperceptible change in the echo. A new signal, a harmonic frequency, was traveling along the echo's timeline, not from outside, but from within it. Alyssin was not just studying my mark. She was using it as a conduit. She was sending me a message. The message was not in words, but in data. It was a complex, beautiful, and utterly terrifying stream of information. I could feel her mind behind it, a cool, detached presence reaching out to me. The message contained fragments of her own memories, her own thoughts, and on the nature of harmony and dissonance. I saw glimpses of her life, a perfectly ordered existence of logic and serene purpose, a life where every problem had an elegant, mathematical solution. I saw her profound, heartbreaking belief that my existence was a terrible, beautiful disease that could be cured. She was offering me a choice, not of surrender, but of belonging. She was offering me a place within the harmony, a role to play in the perfect tapestry, a place to heal and to be made whole. This was her most insidious move yet. She was not just fighting me, she was trying to understand me, to befriend me, to convince me that my dissonance was a sickness and her harmony was a cure. This was the ultimate temptation. For so long, I had been defined by my struggle, by my profound, desperate loneliness. The offer of peace, of a place in their perfect world, was a siren's call to a man who had been at war with the universe for so long. I considered it, a brief, dangerous flicker of thought. What if she was right? What if my defiance was a mistake? What if all my struggle was nothing but the thrashing of a man in a fever dream? My sanctuary, a monument to defiance, suddenly felt like a prison, and their harmony, once a cage, now felt like a warm, comforting blanket. But the temptation was met with a deep internal resistance, the core of unyielding will that had been forged in the crucible of my past. I remembered the unmaking of my world, the serene indifference of the universe as my home and my people were erased. I remember Falke, not just his genius, but his belief in the individual, and the sacred right of a single soul to be different, to be unique. He had fought and died for the right to be a single, unique thread in a universe that wanted a seamless tapestry. I was not a disease to be cured. I was a living, breathing testament to a different kind of truth. My dissonance was not a flaw, it was a choice, a fundamental belief in the right to exist outside of their perfect order. I rejected her offer, not with anger, but with a renewed sense of purpose. My purpose was not to simply exist in defiance, but to prove that defiance is a necessary and beautiful part of existence. My mission was no longer just about building a sanctuary, it was about building a philosophy, a new truth that would echo through the universe. I would not simply defend my sanctuary, I would actively corrupt her probes, turn her harmonious data into a virus of dissonance, or fight her on the intellectual plane, and I would fight her for her very soul. With a cold, quiet rage, I set to work. I took the harmonious data she had sent me, a gift of peace, and began to twist it, to turn its pure frequencies into a complex, self-replicating paradox. I used the temporal engine not to defend myself, but to attack, to create small, contained time loops within her data stream, loops of dissonance that would propagate and spread, a cancer of chaos within her perfect system. This was not a physical attack, this was an intellectual attack, a virus of pure unmaking, a piece of her own harmony turned against her. My final, elegant response to her offer of peace was an act of profound, philosophical violence. The climax of the episode was the moment I launched my response. It was not a chi nova, not a massive burst of power. It was a small, almost invisible thing, a single, concentrated burst of dissonant code, a virus of 1,000 tiny paradoxes sent back through the echo. My message to her was clear. There will be no peace. There will be no surrender. I'm not a sickness to be cured. I'm a truth to be reckoned with. But in my singular focus on my duel with Alyssin, I failed to notice a new, profound change in the chi weave. The temporal echo I created was not just a conduit for Alyssin's probes, it was a beacon. As my dissonant virus traveled back along the echo, it rippled through the planar world, a signal that was not just powerful, but also deeply unsettling to the universe's natural harmony. It was a signature that was not of the syndicate, not of the old world, but something else entirely, something from the deep, untamed parts of the planar world. Something that had been dormant for eons was responding to my dissonance. I was no longer just a fugitive, I was a beacon, and I had drawn the attention of something far older and far more dangerous than Arden. Something that saw my dissonance not as a sickness, but as a call, an invitation to a final, apocalyptic dance. The silence was over. A new, terrifying sound echoed through the universe, a response to my defiance, and I knew with a chilling certainty that the final act of this war